Okay, tell me now, which jaw is movable, the upper jaw or the lower jaw? Which jaw y'all can move? Just try and see. Just try to open your mouth and see which jaw is movable. And let me know which jaw y'all can move. Very good. We can move the lower jaw. The upper jaw is upper jaw cannot be moved. Okay. So from this point, you all can understand that the upper jaw cannot be moved. Only the lower jaw will be able to move. Okay. Only the lower jaw can be moved. But teeth are present on what? Teeth can be present on both jaws. See here, both the jaw is having what? Teeth. But only the lower jaw can be moved. The upper jaw cannot be moved. Okay. And we have the buccal cavity, which is also surrounded by the cheeks. Okay, in our face we have the cheeks on both the sides, right? On the upper and lower parts, we have the lips. On both the sides, we have the cheeks. And then the tongue is attached to what? Tongue is attached to the floor of the buccal cavity. The floor of the buccal cavity is having what? We have the tongue. This tongue will have the like there is a salivary gland, no? So salivary gland is like present inside. Okay, we can't see the salivary gland. So this salivary gland mainly secrete saliva. Okay, the saliva is there in our mouth, like the watery thing is there, no? Like which is secreted whenever like we smell a food or we see a food, there is saliva secretion in our mouth, right? This saliva is mainly secreted by the salivary glands. Okay. So now we have this tongue. This tongue will have main three functions. The tongue has what? Main three functions. Initially, this tongue will helps to like mix the food with the saliva. Okay. Now we have digested a food. We have eaten a piece of apple. Okay. Now this piece of apple is getting mixed with the saliva. Okay. This piece of apple is getting mixed with the saliva. So this is mainly done by whom? By the tongue. And then we can identify different types of taste, right? We have the taste of umami and then the bitter taste, sweet taste, all these tastes, sour taste, all these tastes can be identified by the tongue because tongue has a structure like this, okay? Tongue, wait, I'll draw this. Okay. Tongue is like this, no? Tongue is like this, okay? Different parts of the tongue will have different taste. Okay, you all will learn this during your A levels. Okay, during A levels, you all will learn. Okay, different parts of the tongue. This is the structure of the tongue. Okay, this is the just cross section of the tongue, and different parts of the tongue will have different structure. One will be having the bitter taste, and the other one will be having the sweet taste, and the other might have the sour and umami. All these tastes will be present in the tongue. Okay, so tongue is the one which helps to identify different tastes in our body, taste in our food. Okay, and then this food has to be swallowed, right? This food has to be swallowed. So this will also be done by the tongue because tongue is pushing the food into our pharynx. Okay, tongue mainly helps to push the food into the pharynx. So this is what is about the buccal cavity. So buccal cavity has the tongue and then we have the teeth and also salivary gland is getting associated. So tell me now, okay, uh, now it's Adhan. So until the Adhan ends, let's wait, okay, for the 5 minutes. Okay. Now answer the questions. Uh, Tell me which jaw can be moved? Which jaw is movable? Everyone have to answer. I want the answer from everyone. Okay, others. Which jaw is movable? Very good. It's the lower jaw. Okay, lower jaw is the movable one. And now tell me, tongue. Which gland secretes saliva? Which gland secretes saliva? Which gland mainly secretes saliva? Very good. Salivary glands. And who identify the taste? Who can identify the taste? Very good. It's the tongue. So tongue has three main functions. Now let's move into the enzyme action in mouth. Okay, enzyme action in mouth. If enzyme is used, what is the type of digestion? Is it mechanical or chemical digestion? What is the type of digestion if the enzyme is used? If we are using enzyme, what is the type of digestion? Is it chemical or else mechanical digestion? Very good. It's the chemical digestion. So the chemical digestion and also the mechanical digestion, both of them will start from the mouth itself. Okay, you all have to remember this point. This is an MCQ point. Both the mechanical and chemical digestion takes place in our mouth. So this salivary glands, we have this salivary glands now. Salivary glands will be secreting an enzyme called thiolin. Okay, we call this as the thiolin enzyme. Thiolin enzyme. There is another name for this enzyme as the salivary amylase. Okay, this is the salivary amylase or thiolin. So what does this enzyme do? So you all might have experienced this situation. Maybe when you all chew a piece of bread or else like rice, after certain times, like if you keep this bread piece or else rice in your mouth for a long time, after certain point, like a certain time, maybe like within 1 minute or 2 minutes, you all will taste a sweetness. Okay, have you like experienced this? A sweet taste from rice or bread? Have you all ever experienced? Yes. Okay. That's because of this enzyme. Okay, that's because of this enzyme. Because this rice or else the bread is what? It's a starch. Starch is what? Is it monosaccharide, disaccharide, or polysaccharide? Starch is which saccharide? Very good. It's a polysaccharide. Starch is a polysaccharide. So starch is a polysaccharide, and also we learned that polysaccharides are what? They are insoluble and also not sweet, right? They are not sweet. This is a character of the polysaccharide. So starch will be what? Starch will be not sweet. Okay, starch is a polysaccharide, and this starch will be what? Not sweet. It won't be sweet. Not sweet. Okay, this won't be sweet. But this will be converted into maltose. Maltose is what? Is it polysaccharide, monosaccharide, or disaccharide? Maltose. What is the type of saccharide that maltose belongs to? Maltose. Very good. It's a disaccharide. So disaccharides have a character of sweetness. So this maltose will be sweet. Starch is not sweet and the maltose is sweet. This is mainly the starch is getting converted into maltose. The polysaccharide is getting converted into disaccharides by the action of whom? By the action of the thiolene. Okay, by the action of thiolene, the starch is getting converted into what? Getting converted into the maltose, which is a sweet sugar. Okay, this is a sweet sugar. That's the reason why we experience the tasteness. Okay, this sweet tasteness. Okay, the main reason to sense this sweet taste is due to the conversion of starch into maltose. So the function of thiolene, the salivary enzyme, is what? Converting the starch into maltose. Okay, this is the enzyme action because these enzymes are mainly working inside the working inside this mouth, and then this is mainly helping for all the what yeah for all the reactions to proceed. So the enzyme action, the chemical digestion in mouth is converting the starch into maltose. So that's it about the digestion in mouth. Now the mouth food is somewhat made small, okay, because our teeth are helping for what? For the grinding process. And that now food is somewhat had like that large big fat fruits is somewhat have become small now. So now the tongue is there now. The tongue is forming a food bolus. Okay, food bolus means it's like a ball of food. Okay, it's like what? A ball of food. Okay, it will form like a ball. Okay, it will form like a round food. Okay, it will be forming a ball of food. Okay, we call this as what? We call this as the food bolus. Now this food bolus has to be ingested. No, we have to digest this food bolus. So now this food bolus will be pushed into the posterior part of the buccal cavity. I had to say this also. There are two terms, posterior and anterior. If it is the frontal part, let's say this is the tongue. Okay. If wait, okay. If this is the tongue, okay. If this is the tongue, there are two main parts. One is the posterior part, and the other is the anterior part. Okay, posterior and anterior. The tongue part which we can put out. Okay, the tongue part which we can put out is the part anterior part. The one which we can put out is the anterior part. Okay, this is the anterior part. And the other part which is fixed, okay, which is fixed to our mouth is called the posterior part. Okay, remember that. So in tongue, the part which can be put out is the anterior part, and the part which is fixed to our mouth is the posterior part. I said already the tongue is pushing all the food into our pharynx. So this tongue will help to make the food bolus, and this will push the bolus into the posterior part because tongue can easily move. No, it's movable. Ne? So this tongue will push the food bolus into the posterior part of the buccal cavity. And then now what happens? Now I said right earlier we studied, see here in the system, what is happening? Now the after it has entered the pharynx, this will be entering into the esophagus. This will be entering into the esophagus. Who is preventing the food entering into the respiratory tract? Which part is preventing the food entering into the respiratory tract? Tell me, which is the part preventing that? Which part prevents the food entering into the digestive tract? At least the first letter. Very good. It's the epiglottis. Okay. Epiglottis is the one. This is the dough. Okay. This is the epiglottis. See here. This has a dough-like structure. Okay. So this is the respiratory tract. Okay, given the green color part is the respiratory tract, and this is the dough in the respiratory tract. So this epiglottis prevent the food entering into the respiratory tract. Okay, and pharynx is a junction, right? Pharynx is common to both respiratory and digestive system. Pharynx is common to both the respiratory and then the digestive systems. Okay, so now the epiglottis is a movable organ. It's like a dough. Okay, remember like that. Don't need to think about these complex things. Just try to remember all these points using like simple day-to-day activities and stuff. So epiglottis is like a door and it is preventing people this food from entering into this respiratory tract. And then when the food bolus is swallowed, okay, when the food bolus is swallowed, what happens is the epiglottis is moving down and closing the tracheal opening, because trachea is present in the respiratory. Just remember, as the it doesn't prevent the food entering into the respiratory tract. That is the major function of whom? Major function of the epiglottis. So it will move down and close the door. Okay, after it has closed the door, this bolus cannot enter into the respiratory system. Therefore, it will slide down through the esophagus. Now, if let's say in case if this door has a small opening, if the food has entered the respiratory tract, we will be having cough when like we cough during eating and stuff. This is due to the what? Entry of the food into the respiratory tract. Okay, we call this process as what? Choking, right? So choking mainly occurs when the food enters into the respiratory tract. Okay, this is because why? The epiglottis has not closed properly. It has like a small opening, and that allowed this food to go into this respiratory tract, and as a result this thing occurs, choking thing will occur. So that is it about the epiglottis. So now the food has entered the esophagus. Now that long tube is there. So that is the esophagus. So in esophagus, food will be moved by a process called peristaltic movement. Food will be moved by a process called what? Peristaltic movement. This is the peristaltic movement. Okay, this is the peristaltic movement. See here, what happens, this food particle, okay, this food particle will be like having an alternative. It will have what? An alternative movement. Okay, it will have an alternative constriction and then relaxation. It will be contracted and then relaxed. Okay, it will be having a contraction and then the relaxation. See here, now when this part is contracted, what happens? This food will move here. This is like the thing you all can do in that long balloon thing. Okay, you all can try this at home as well. So this will contract this part and then the food will move down. After this part has relaxed, the food will move down further. So the alternative contraction and relaxation is the peristaltic movement. Okay, we call this movement. This is the like perfect example, like perfect image for this movement. Okay, so the peristaltic movement is what? The contraction and the relaxation of the esophagus. Okay, so this esophagus is a muscular structure. Muscular structure means what? It has muscles. Okay, it is mainly made up of what? Muscles. So contraction of relaxation of these muscles will result in the peristaltic movement. So after the peristaltic movement, this is a ball-like thing. No, this football is after the peristaltic movement. From the esophagus, the food will be entering the stomach. Okay. Is it clear up to this point? Is it clear for y'all? Or y'all have any doubts? Others, is it clear or y'all have any doubts? Drop a message. Okay. So I'll give a worksheet by the end, okay? Like maybe around 8:30, around 8:30, I'll give you all a like structure essay question to do, okay? Try that at 8:30, and after that we'll discuss. Until then, I'll explain another small part. Okay, so now the food is entering into what? Food is entering into the stomach. So initially the food was in the buccal cavity. And then what happened from the buccal cavity? There are three main parts in the buccal cavity. We had the teeth, and then the tongue, and the one gland. And one gland is what? It is the salivary gland, which mainly secrete saliva. So at the mouth, both the chemical and then the mechanical digestion takes place. After that, the food bolus is made. The food bolus is mainly made by whom? By the tongue. The tongue is mixing the food with the saliva and makes the food bolus. And also, we already studied that these salivary glands secrete an enzyme called salivary amylase. There is another name for this. We call this as what? Thiolin. Okay, thiolin. Thiolin or salivary amylase is secreted by the salivary glands. So the function of this thiolin is converting the starch into maltose. Okay, converting the starch into maltose. It is converting this large starch into maltose, and maltose is somewhat sweet. So it is mainly helpful to make the food taste somewhat. And then this food bolus is moving through comes to a point called pharynx. Okay, this pharynx is like a junction. In this pharynx, both the respiratory gases and the food particles will be having a meeting. Okay, they will meet. After that, this food particles tries to move into the respiratory tract. When we talk while eating, these food particles tries to move into the respiratory tract. Okay, so this respiratory tract has a gate. It has a barrier. Okay, this barrier prevents the what prevents all these food food which are trying to enter into the respiratory tract. Okay, this will prevent the food entering the respiratory tract. So the epiglottis is moved down and enclose the opening. Okay, and then now what happens? Food has only one path to go. So food will go through what? It will go through the esophagus. Okay, esophagus is the respiratory. Sorry, this one it is the digestive tube. And now the food is moving down through this esophagus by a movement called what? Peristalsis. It is the alternative contraction and relaxation of the muscles. And then it finally reaches to a main destination point. Okay, it is the pool. Okay, it's like a pool. It is the stomach. So stomach is like a pool. Okay, remember it as a pool. So now all the food comes and falls into the stomach. Okay, so stomach is what? It's a dilated sac. It's a dilated sac. It has like very large empty spaces, and also there will be liquids. It's exactly like a pool. So all these foods come and fall into this pool like stomach. So this stomach also have what? Peristalsis. It also can do peristalsis. Peristalsis is again what? Alternative contraction and relaxation of the smooth muscles. So again, this peristalsis can be seen in stomach. So peristalsis is like up to now we have studied that peristalsis occurs in esophagus and also in the stomach wall. And now the food bolus is there. Now this large food bolus will come down into the stomach. When the large food bolus come down into the stomach due to the peristaltic thing, okay, due to the contraction and relaxation, this food bolus will be broken down into small particles. This food bolus will be broken down into what? Small particles. And then this will be mixed well with the gastric juice. Now we are studying a type of juice which is mainly secreted by the stomach wall. Okay, this juice is there. No, this yellow color part is there. This is that juice. Okay, the stomach wall will be secreting a juice called gastric juice. Okay, this juice secreted by the stomach wall is what? It is the gastric juice. Okay, so this gastric juice is acidic. Okay, gastric juice is acidic. Therefore, this makes the chyme, okay, the acidic gastric juice mixed with the food bolus, and then it will form the chyme, okay. The food bolus and the acidic juice, the gastric juice, is mixing and then forming a chyme. So chyme is finally what? It is also acidic. Okay, the chyme is also acidic. And this gastric juice mainly contain water. Okay, this like that was not given in your syllabus, but in A levels you always study. Okay, gastric juice mainly consists of water, and also it has what? Hydrochloric acid. HCl you all might know, right? Hydrochloric acid. And then we have the pepsin enzyme. So the enzyme secreted by the stomach wall is what? Pepsin enzyme. And also, there is something called renin, which is mainly present in infants. Okay, present in who? Present in the infants. Okay, present in infants. Renin is mainly present in infants. So, HCl, what happens to this HCl? So, this pepsin are like inactive people, okay, very lazy people. So pepsin should be activated, no? So HCl is somewhat active. Okay, HCl is the acidic thing, no? Or like usually acids are active inside the acidic environment, ne? Because the gastric juice is an acidic environment. So this HCl will be active inside the stomach. So now this HCl is going to wake up this pepsin and trying to make that pepsin active. Okay, so the main function of HCl is what? It is activating the pepsin. Okay, it is what? Activating the pepsin. And then now what happens to the pepsin? Pepsin now becomes active. After pepsin has become active, it is starting the protein digestion. The pepsin is starting what? It is starting the protein digestion. So see here, the protein digestion is starting at the stomach. Okay, the protein digestion mainly starts at the stomach. The carbohydrate digestion starts at the mouth. And now the protein digestion is getting started at the stomach. So this is also an MCQ point you all have to remember, because there might be a question like maybe an MCQ. Where does the digestion of the protein starts? So where does it starts? Where does the digestion of protein starts? Tell. Is it mouth or stomach? The digestion of proteins. Digestion of protein starts at stomach. Digestion of carbohydrates. Where does the digestion of carbohydrates starts? Very good. It starts at the mouth, but digestion of the proteins starts at the stomach. Okay, so the proteins will be converted to what? Polypeptides. Here what happens? The proteins are getting converted to polypeptides. We have the proteins. This protein is getting converted to whom? Getting converted to the polypeptides. Okay, proteins are getting converted to polypeptides. So this is the main function of the pepsin enzyme. So if an enzyme is converting complex molecules into simple molecules, how do we call that? Is it mechanical digestion or chemical digestion? Tell me that. Is it mechanical or chemical? If an enzyme is doing such things, is it mechanical? If an enzyme is converting complex molecules into simple molecules, how do we call that? Is it mechanical or chemical? What is it? How do we call that? It's the chemical one, right? It's the chemical one. Okay. So now we have the chyme, right? We have what? We have the chyme. Okay. So in stomach, both mechanical and chemical digestion takes place. Because see here, the peristaltic activities occurs due to what? Muscles in the stomach. And now, due to the enzymes only, the proteins are getting converted into whom? Converted into polypeptides. So here also, both mechanical and chemical digestion takes place. And we have the renin, right? Renin is the one which involves in coagulation of milk. Like in small children, the feces are like a semi-solid, right? Not a liquid, not a solid. It's a semi-solid, okay? Not a completely liquid or not a complete solid. It's a semi-solid means like something in between the solid and liquid. That is mainly due to the renin because it involves in the coagulation of milk, okay? It is making the milk somewhat thicker, like after the food has digested, it is involving in the coagulation. By the process of coagulation, the feces become somewhat semi-solid. Okay. In adults, it's like solid, but in this thing, what is that? In the infants, it is what? It is a semi-solid. That is mainly due to what? Due to the renin enzyme. Renin. Okay. Now we have the chyme. Okay, this chyme is a what? Acidic food mass, right? Chyme is an acidic food mass we had. So this chyme mainly consists of many things. It has many things. Okay, one is what? It is the partially digested protein. Because when it comes to the chyme in stomach, what happened? These proteins are got converted to what? Polypeptides in these proteins got converted to polypeptides. So polypeptides are what is the basic unit of proteins? Tell me that first. What is the basic unit of protein? Which is the basic unit of protein? The basic unit of protein is what? Very good. It's the amino acid. Okay, amino acid. But now proteins are converted to whom? It's converted to polypeptide, not the amino acids. No, if it is converted to amino acids only, we can absorb. But since it's converted to polypeptide, we can't absorb till now. Therefore, we call this as what? Partially digested proteins. We call these as what? Partially digested proteins. So, chyme consists of partially digested proteins and also digested and undigested carbohydrates. Digested means what? The carbohydrates which are present as monosaccharides, the glucose, galactose, and fructose. And undigested means what? They can be either polysaccharides or else they can be what? Disaccharides. We call these carbohydrates as the undigested carbohydrates. And then we have undigested lipids. Because until now, we haven't learned anything about these lipids, right? We came across the term, what? Protein and also carbohydrate, but we didn't came across this lipid stuff. Therefore, the lipid is undigested even in the stomach. Okay, the lipid digestion hasn't started in the stomach at least. And then we have the water, minerals, vitamins, all of these stuffs which we ingest will be present in this chyme. And then the chyme will be released to the small intestine. What is happening? Now the chyme has come to a position at the end of the stomach. Okay, chyme has reached the end of the stomach. So the chyme will be entering into whom? Chyme will be entering the small intestine. Now the chyme is here. Okay. Okay, the crime is here. Now you all have to learn another two terms. Okay, in science, like there are scientific terms. So those terms are proximal and distal. Okay, proximal and distal. Proximal means initial part. Okay, proximal means what? Initial part. Initial part of any body parts. Like usually we use these terms in systems. Okay, in human systems only we are using these terms. Earlier we studied about anterior and posterior. Now we are going to see the term proximal and then distal you all will learn like maybe later. Okay, proximal means what? It is the initial part. Distal is the exact opposite term. Distal is what? It's the ending part of any uh, maybe mostly any systems. Okay, so ending part is called the distal part, and the initial part is known as the proximal part. So chyme will be released to the proximal part of small intestine, obviously, right? Because from here only the small intestine will be starting. Okay, from here only the small intestine starts. Therefore, this thing is there. What is this? The chyme will be released from the stomach into proximal part of the small intestine. Okay, so proximal part of the small intestine is called as the duodenum. Okay, the proximal part of the small intestine is known as what? Duodenum. Have to remember these things. Okay, the proximal part of the small intestine is known as duodenum, and then the chyme is released from the stomach into the proximal part, and now. The food will be released like slowly, like it will be coming into the small intestine. And when the stomach is empty, okay, these are like facts to remember. When the stomach is empty, what happens is it will be continuously contracting. Okay, like we feel hunger due to this only. Okay, when the stomach is empty, when there is no food inside our stomach, the stomach will do what? The stomach will start to contract continuously. Okay, after it has contracted continuously, this will do like it has contracted many times no, so the rate of contraction will increase. Okay, the rate of contraction will increase. After the rate of contraction increases, what happens? There will be a sense of pain, right? There will be a sense of pain inside our body, like when we are hung before we like when we feel